Thank you, Shannon. And we are eagerly anticipating Dr. Joseph Ladapo. As you probably know, he is the most outspoken medical freedom Surgeon General in our country. We actually only have 5 Surgeon Generals in our country. Most states just rely on the head of their Department of Health Services. That's what Texas does. We don't actually have a Surgeon General. But Dr. Ladapo has been making waves in the news for quite some time. Back in September of 2021, he was writing op-eds for the Wall Street Journal that were considered controversial at the time. They were actually not. They were just, speaking out against mandates and masking and unnecessary quarantine of children. And those op-eds caught the eye of Governor Ron DeSantis. So Dr. Ladapo was actually practicing at UCLA, and Governor DeSantis scooped him up and brought him to the East Coast. I bet he was grateful for that. And he became Surgeon General of Florida in September of 2021. So that's 4 years ago. On his first day as Surgeon General, he proclaimed that children should not be unnecessarily quarantined just because they were exposed to COVID. So you might remember that schools were freaking out if your child, if one kid got sick, they would shut down the whole classroom and everybody would have to go home for 2 weeks. It was complete insanity. So he came out of the gate very strong and put an end to that on his first day. As we talked about last segment, Florida has really paved the way in medical freedom. And a year ago, it was actually September 12th, 2024, Dr. Ladapo, with the support of Governor DeSantis, advised that no one in the state of Florida should get the COVID shots. And if you've been following me, you know that there are all sorts of reasons. There's all sorts of data. We have over 3,600 peer-reviewed published studies showing adverse reactions from these shots. We have the VAERS data, we have the DMED data, we have the life insurance and disability data, we have autopsy findings, we have all the sports athletes, the athletes just dropping dead. So we have an abundance of data. But the bright line that I think is very smart that Dr. Ladapo has used to justify this is the fact that these shots are contaminated with DNA. And normally if DNA got into our body, if foreign DNA got into our body, it would be broken down very quickly. But the DNA that comes with these COVID shots is wrapped in this lipid nanoparticle. And the lipid nanoparticle is like a shell, a protective shell around the DNA, and it allows it to cross cell membranes, and it can even get into the nucleus of the cell, and that's the big danger. So the concern is that foreign DNA from these mRNA shots that was supposed to be removed during the manufacturing process, but studies have shown that there is concerning levels of residual DNA in these mRNA shots. That was reinforced. There's a recent study that came out with Kevin McKernan and Jessica Rose, I believe, was on that study as well, just reaffirming that they took samples of these shots and they also found concerning levels of residual DNA that are left in these shots. So the concern is this residual DNA, it's wrapped in this lipid nanoparticle. It also contains pseudouridine. Pseudouridine is one of the elements of RNA, and it's a stabilizing element. So it keeps it from being broken down. And actually, you dig into the pseudouridine, there's no studies that showing that the body is able to break down pseudouridine. That really wasn't disclosed to the average person when they were getting these shots. And it probably explains why I'm seeing these sky-high spike protein antibody levels in my patients that got the shots, because the modified synthetic mRNA is just not being broken down. So the concern is we've got this lipid nanoparticle that's protecting this synthetic mRNA. And then we've got this synthetic RNA that has a stabilizing element that makes it even harder to break down. It's able to cross cell membranes and is thought to even be able to cross into the nucleus. And the nucleus is where our genes are, right? And so if we're getting foreign DNA into the nucleus of our cells, that could lead to cancer, that could lead to production of abnormal proteins, it could lead to autoimmune disease. So that is the stance that Dr. Ladapo has wisely taken in his call for the COVID shots to be pulled off the market. He is part of our effort. I have an organization called Americans for Health Freedom. It's a 501c4, and our foundational project is to recruit politicians to simply state that the COVID shot should be pulled off the market. And Dr. Ladapo is on our list, and he was actually our first recipient of our Moral Courage Award because he is going against the grain. He's going against the CDC. He was publicly rebuked by the CDC, and he's stayed alive. He has stayed strong, and thankfully, he has the support of a strong governor, Governor DeSantis. Unfortunately, we don't have that in Texas. We have Governor Greg Abbott, who is very tied in with the medical establishment. I believe that part of that is, he's in a wheelchair, and he is he's probably very loyal to his doctors, understandably so. I see that in my patients that have severe diseases. They're very loyal to the people that keep them alive, and that makes sense. But I think it may make, and he has been, he's been stronger than most states, but not as strong as Governor DeSantis in Florida. So Dr. Ladapo, he's got the strong support of a great governor, and that's kept him in this alive in all this controversy. And as we know, last week, he came out with a bombshell. So he is joining us now, and I can't wait to have him tell us exactly what the new policy is in Florida. So, Dr. Ladapo, we are eager to talk. How are you?
Hey, Dr. Bowden. I am doing well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here speaking with you. You're a doctor that I admire for what you've just how you've stood your ground.
Well, I've been telling everybody about all the things you've been doing over the past 4 years as Surgeon General. But last week was just sort of the nuclear bomb that we really all needed to hear. And the way you phrased it, I thought it just really was interesting because you compared it to slavery, which it's so true. And my whole perspective on these childhood vaccines has really changed thanks to the pandemic. I really just fell in line with my own kids. I just went to the doctor and did it. I didn't ever question it. But it is true that, why are we forcing parents to get these shots? Can you tell us what Florida is doing?
Yeah. I'm working with the Governor DeSantis and the Florida Department of Health and our lawmakers. The goal is to remove all of the vaccine mandates from statute, and that's the goal. I was very similar to you too. Just kind of took it all for granted. I mean, I had some reservations. My wife had stronger reservations, and but I kind of knew better because I was a doctor. We see how little truth there is in that when it comes to really chronic health. I mean, we do amazing things, I think, with acute illness, but just in terms of just chronic illness and wellness, we are terrible. I mean, that's obviously not our strong suit. And so what does that, we've gotten a lot of, I guess, pushback, if you will, and it's come from Republicans and Democrats. We've also gotten a lot of support from parents and families and some Republicans, and really, I mean, frankly, from any freedom lover. I mean, if any freedom lover it will innately make sense that when it comes to like what you put in your body and what you put in your kid's body, your say should be the final say. That's like the government say should not be the final say there. So we've definitely hit challenges, but it's been good though, because it's an issue where people have to pick a side. I mean, there's no gray area. Either you control what goes in your body and you control what goes into your kids' bodies, or you don't. Technically, here in the Florida Department of Health, we have 4 vaccines that were mandated, that are currently mandated, and we those were obviously done by a predecessor, and we're going to be pulling back on those. So we've started that process already, and then there are a handful of others that are mandated in Florida statute, and we'll be pulling those back with the support of the lawmakers, hopefully.
Do you know which 4 are covered under the Department of Health?
Yeah. So it's varicella, and it is hepatitis B, and it's the pneumococcal vaccine, and finally the Haemophilus influenza vaccine.
Okay. Well, and there seems, I don't know if you caught, I was talking to Dr. Joel Rudmond, who was a state representative in Florida prior to you coming on, and he was adamant. It's like, we need to re-educate people, because there's this misconception that you're taking away the vaccines for everybody. But because he's having patients come in and say, what's going on? I can't have vaccines anymore. But you're not doing that.
No, we're not doing that. If you want to get like 10 on Monday and come back and get 10 on Tuesday, which the CDC says is fine, by the way. So if you want to do that, you get all your Band-Aids on, you can do that. There's no one is going to stop you from doing that. So all of the vaccines, with the exception, the goal is with the mRNA is for that not to be available to anyone, because no one should be using that one. So you're going to put that aside, but all of the vaccines are going to be available to Floridians who want them. And it's such a sad thing. I mean, I guess there are 2 things that come to mind. One is how the media manages to really spin people up into this frenzy, where people were thinking all sorts of things that are just not congruent with the actual message. And then the other thing that comes to mind is, again, largely from the media and a lot from our colleagues, is this issue of why is it controversial to think that parents can make an informed decision for their kid? They know their kid's health better than anyone. Why is that controversial? And I'll add another thing, Dr. Bowden. You hear these public health officials and physicians, they're crying a lot about how people don't trust public health anymore, because of all the terrible things that happened during the pandemic. Well, they should really be in support of this, because if you take away mandates, you know what you build? Trust. Because you're saying that I trust you to make the decision that you think is best. But a mandate actually, it actually undermines trust, because it literally is explicitly saying that I don't trust you, so I have to force you. So there's just a lot happening.
I mean, how much pushback have you gotten since you made that announcement, at least from the people in Florida? I don't care about CNN and Jake Tapper, but in terms of the people in Florida, has it been ugly, or what's the temperature on that?
Yeah, so it's been mixed, and there are a lot of people who are really, really supportive and grateful, and we've received a lot of positive feedback. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who've been really severely, sort of triggered, and have been unhinged, and they've sent threats to the office, and so we've gotten some of that too. So it's a mix, and obviously we're no strangers to controversy here in Florida, but this is actually, and I tell you, it catches me by surprise. This is the most intense feedback that we've received.
I mean, you've made other very controversial statements. I mean, as I was saying before you came on, your first day as Surgeon General, you told people don't quarantine children who were exposed to COVID. You've called for the COVID shots to be pulled off the market. I'm probably forgetting other things you've done, but like you said, no stranger to controversy. So this has been the hardest. That's shocking to me.
Yeah. This has been the most intense. This has definitely been the most intense. There are a lot of people out there who, unfortunately, are really suffering, and they're suffering from either belief in something that's not true, thinking that someone's taken away their vaccines or something, or they're suffering from, tremendous fear. And by the way, the physicians and the public health community are responsible for that too. Like this notion that somehow, again, people want to get vaccines. That's perfectly fine. But this notion that somehow civilization can't continue without them, and so this is an existential threat. It's been very profound, Dr. Bowden. It's been really, really profound.
Well, I'm sorry you're going through that. And the legislature, how realistic is it? Do you think they will go along and help you, or is it going to be a divided vaccine schedule? What do you think?
Yeah. So I actually think that we're going to be able to do this, and it's a lot, but I think that we're going to be able to do this, and I think that we'll keep getting our message out there, keep speaking with parents, because most parents actually they want to control what happens to their children. You got to be careful about surveys. People like to say, "Oh, we surveyed Florida parents, and they said that they want, every kid to have the vaccine," and maybe they want that, and that's fine. But what they want more, almost certainly, is to be able to control the health of their child. So. I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to do it. It's a moral policy. It's how things should be. It's so sad that we've gotten so far away from how things should be that it's like bizarre to think that, or radical to think that over your body. I mean, that's all you come into this world with, and that's what you leave with. These things that house our souls while we're here, and to think that you aren't the ultimate arbiter of what happens to that in terms of medications or vaccines or for your kids. That's wrong. That's plain flat out wrong.
It really is. And what's so funny is I've been writing exemptions for patients, and the Catholic Church is actually the hardest one to get a medical exemption for. Like I have the last time I wrote one, they sent a letter saying, "Well, Dr. Bowden is under review from the Texas Medical Board, so we'll allow the exemption until we have the outcome of that case." But it is, the vaccines are in their own little protected class. I mean, can you imagine if there were some other medication that we were forcing kids to take before going to school? Like, okay, well, if you have ADHD, you have to take Ritalin to get into the school. I mean, it's really not that different, right? But
No, it's
it's
not.
just, yeah. And that's the one good thing about COVID and it certainly woke me up. It woke a lot of people up. I'm curious, when was your wake up moment? Because you went to Harvard and you have a PhD in health policy. So it's a little unexpected that you would be taking this stance. I'm just curious how that evolved.
Yeah, probably no one's more surprised than I am. Yeah, my wake up moment was the pandemic also, and I remember that I was working in the hospital in March 2020 at UCLA Ronald Reagan Hospital, and we had patients, and some of them had COVID, and I was I was really taken aback by a few things. So one was the leadership was freaking out at the hospital. They were freaking out, and we had new policies literally every day. The second thing was just how the city, Los Angeles, was reacting. So so we have three boys. Brianna and I have three boys, and our boys were really small back then. I mean, that was like my oldest at that time he was 6, and my youngest was like just like 1 year. He was a toddler, and so we couldn't like we were you have to be physically active with boys. There's just going to be a lot of stuff, and so I still remember when Brianna and I, we took the boys out to eat, and it was like the last time we got to take the boys out to eat for a while, because between like I think I was on service and maybe I'd gotten home, we went to dinner, and 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 like basically that was the last time actually that we ate at that restaurant, because maybe a couple days later, Governor Newsom shut down the state, and then in the hospital, like I was, we had data from Wuhan. It was, people like to say, oh, we got more information and then we know. That's actually bollocks when it comes to who was at risk for COVID. Because I was there. I remember I was reading data from Wuhan, and it was very clear from those data there was a tremendous gradation in terms of risk, and it was clearly concentrated in older people and not in younger people, and yet you had all these smart people. I mean, they're smart, very smart people, MDs, PhDs, all this stuff, saying we have to shut down. And me and Brianna are thinking, what are these people thinking? Like this restaurant that we just ate at, you got young people that need to work, they're early in their career. We got kids that need to be in school. They need to be playing. You can't just you can't just turn their life upside down. And you got just like regular life, and you have information already about who's most at risk. So honestly, I was nonplussed. I was like, how can this be happening? Like, why are we, literally the only people? And there were others, right? Like Dr. Simone Gold. I bet you felt similarly too. But like the voices we were hearing in the newspapers and the television, they were all saying something that just didn't make sense, and they got their way. And so that's when, that was the beginning of the wake up for me.
And then I bet you were so glad to get to Florida after being in California.
We were. We were. And I got to tell you, the Governor DeSantis talks about this. Florida's a beautiful state. California is also a beautiful state. It has a majestic beauty, your mountains, your beaches. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous state. The food is wonderful. It's grown right there in the state. But unfortunately, there are just too many pockets that are completely uncoupled from reality and from human needs. Look at, from what, this tragedy of the fires that happened in the Palisades. That we lived close to the Palisades when we were there in West LA, and to think that they weren't prepared with water, and the Palisades are beautiful, right? These huge hills overlooking, I think it's Paul Rogers or Will Rogers Beach and the ocean. Beautiful places, totally unprepared. Not doing enough to aggressively prevent fires too. They're just. It's almost like they want the state to fail and they want to hurt people. But yeah, beautiful state. We were very happy for the freedom, just to be able to breathe freely in Florida. Florida, and obviously, we were intended to come here, and really glad that God brought us over here.
Well, and then for this, removing the mandates, does this apply just for the childhood vaccine schedule, or will this apply to businesses and hospitals, or is it just for schools?
Yeah, it's so complicated. So what we said that day, and I think it is the right first goal, is to remove all vaccine mandates from Florida statute. So in terms of what we have in the law, like for that to be gone. And so that's our primary goal. Now, you and I'm sure many of your viewers recognize how there's just like hysteria right around vaccines. So, and Aaron Siri, who's a brilliant guy, just wrote this book, perfectly titled. It's titled, I think, "Vaccines, Amen." And so there's still a lot of schools that, and in Florida, the law is that you have to allow exemptions, even for private businesses, but a lot of schools don't make that easy. So that's its challenge, and we usually handle those cases. A case at a time when we receive a complaint from a Floridian, but we're really focused on what's in statute, like what's in Florida law.
And how long do you think it will take to implement?
Well, the lawmakers will be back in the winter or the spring, and we'll be working on a bill, and that'll be in the coming months. So it won't happen like as fast as I would like for it to happen, but in terms of what we control in the Department of Health, that will happen faster, and we've initiated that process.
Well, that is, I mean, really commendable. This will make Florida the first state to eliminate mandates for children going to school, and I believe the country should follow in Florida's footsteps. I have said for quite a while, I wish we could have a constitutional amendment so that just eliminate mandates completely. Because as you said, it's slavery. It's forcing somebody to do something, not giving them a choice, forcing them to inject something in their body. It really goes against the foundation of medical ethics. So I'm just so grateful to you for your bravery.
Oh, thanks, Dr. Bowden. And it's like, I mean, the other thing, of course, is that there are other countries that don't have any. They don't have any vaccine mandates. Sweden is an example. I believe Denmark and Norway are examples. The United Kingdom, actually, large parts of Canada, even. I mean, can you believe Canada does? Many parts of Canada
Well,
don't do that.
yeah, I saw,
So it's
and I
like,
don't know if it's accurate, but I saw that China and Russia don't have mandates. Now, I don't know how accurate, but that is a
yeah,
website.
I read that. I guess there in those countries, like you don't have mandates, but you're not free either. So, so
Right.
I'm not sure how to, at least with China, but yeah, I mean, there are other countries that their outcomes are not so dissimilar, and I mean, and I mean, in my mind, the linchpin is the fact that if you want people to trust you, you can't force them to do things. I mean, you can have one or the other, but you can't have both. so, I mean, people should pick which one they want, and sadly, I think a lot of them would pick the mandates. Sadly, actually, to be honest, they probably would pick that over actually earning trust, which is really really sad. But yeah, there are a lot of other countries that don't have mandates, and they haven't like fallen off of the face of the earth.
We haven't seen a resurgence of polio and measles like they claim
Yeah,
is going to happen. So,
yeah, yeah.
well, I am thrilled to talk to you, Dr. Ladapo. Thank you so much for sparing your precious free time to come on here. And we look forward to more leading medical freedom policies out of Florida. So thank you, Dr. Ladapo.
Oh, thanks, Dr. Bowden. Thank you very much for your courage and stalwartness, and just with all that you faced. So, thank you for being just a shining light and just a wonderful example for everyone, for what it means to stand in the just stand at the threshold and not give 1 inch to the bad guys. It means so
Yeah,
much.
well, you're leading the way in that regard as well. So I really appreciate it, and I hope I hope the heat dies down soon. You certainly don't deserve it. You are a very kind and thoughtful and courageous man with high integrity. And you don't deserve to be threatened or attacked. So thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Bowen. Great to see you. Great to see you.
All right. Well, that concludes our episode. We will see you next week with Dr. Peter McCall. And next week is pre-recorded because I will be in court with Houston Methodist Hospital. So I will give y'all an update in 2 weeks after that hearing. Thanks for joining us today. And next time we'll try to answer some questions. That was the intention, but we ran out of time. But next time, send us some questions and I will try to answer as many as I can. Thank you.